Welcome to Art Should Be Illegal, a podcast about art and whether it holds any worth or value to the state. My name is Liv. What? My name is Liv, and my pronouns are it and she. I'm the person who is talking right now.
I am Elissa. My pronouns are she and they, and sometimes I just make up words entirely.
My name is Annie, and my pronouns are she and her, and I am the little worm talking right now. So yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. That was just like a little bit.
Yeah, it is very on theme for this movie, though.
That's what, yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah. Yeah, and the movie we've been talking about is, of course, T Blockers, an Australian production of 2023. And it is a testament to the fact that if you want to make a movie, you can absolutely make a movie.
They'll just let anybody make a movie. You can just make a fucking movie.
Yeah, but should you make a movie? And the answer is resoundingly probably not.
The answer is always no. No one should make a movie.
Yeah.
There should not be any movies. I say this as a filmmaker.
Yeah, Liv, this was your choice. Defend it.
This was my choice. Oh, yeah. The reason I chose this movie is because I wanted to watch it. And I needed an excuse.
Okay.
Good enough reason.
Yeah.
I love your picks.
I respect that reason greatly.
No, I hadn't watched it or really researched it beforehand, other than I looked at IMDb and went, oh wow, people don't like this movie, which means one of two things. Either it's extremely good and trans, or it's just bad and also trans.
That's true. That is true. It's like when I'm looking at, the only thing that I look at Rotten Tomatoes for is if the audience and the critics disagree. Because if they disagree, the movie's either really good or really bad. And either way, I'm going to have a good time watching it.
There are worse approaches, for sure.
Yeah, I also chose it because it is important to acknowledge and watch more trans art.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
We're a small minority group, and whatever art we have is very precious, despite most of it being just atrocious or straight up porn.
No, not porn. This is like LimeWire back in the day when I really wanted to watch Advent Children, and I downloaded Advent Children, and it was just porn, and little Annie was so disappointed because she wanted to watch Advent Children.
I would have been disappointed too, going like, no, I want to watch a movie. I don't care about this.
It's just annoying fucking porn again. Damn it.
Yeah, oh my god. What are those two women doing to that guy? I don't care. I want to watch Cloud fight Sephiroth.
Just knock it off. Show us the cool characters fighting.
Yeah. So this movie opens with an Ed Wood-like opening.
Yeah, we're opening on like Australian trans drag queen Criswell giving a fittingly baffling monologue, but there's no mention of big green dragons or puppy dog tails, which is a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's meant to evoke Ed Wood, but I think it fails a little, especially when we get closer to the end of the movie. It all falls apart. But here,
Yeah, this did set me up in the right headspace to watch the movie, which is, what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very much the experience of watching this movie. It kind of drags a little bit, and
it does.
It's really confusing.
2 notes about it. It's also about survivors and cracking, which is very relatable. But then, yes, it goes on way, way longer than it has any reason or really should be allowed to do.
Yeah, 100%. So we see this monologue that's sort of very vaguely describing what is going to happen in the plot without giving any plot details. But this narrator is like, oh, the story you're about to watch is true. And, think about that. And I did. And I agree. This story is true.
Parts of this are true.
No, parts of this are too relatable, and then the parts that aren't
well, okay,
they're also here.
But thematically speaking, this film is very real because film is very true from a thematic perspective, and I do give it that they had balls when they made this movie, unironically.
And just before we get way into it, it does remind me of a transgender book called Brainworms,
Okay.
which we should read at some point.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
You had me
I
at
don't know anything about
transgender book. Yeah, you had me at
Right.
transgender book.
Yeah, it might be the only piece of transgender book fiction that I actually enjoy.
You should read The Vanishing Half. It's not a transgender book, but it is a book with some transgender characters. And it's very well written. I don't know who the author spoke to because she's cis, but they fucking explained being trans to her real good because she got it.
Have you checked up on the author? Is she still cis?
Yes. Yeah.
Ah.
So from this baffling monologue, we move into what's actually a pretty efficient scene here. We've got our protagonist, Sophie, and she is writing a screenplay, and it's literally just the story of her coming out and being rejected by her shitty family. And so we establish a couple of things there pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, write what you know.
I'm gonna show my whole ass here. Okay.
Okay.
So please don't judge me for this. I find the idea of coming out to your family or loved ones and they get mad and storm off so baffling. Why would you be mad about that?
Because people are really shitty.
I can
awful.
I get it.
People are awful, and I can relate to this script writing all too well, and without exposing myself or my person too much. It is very real indeed.
I believe it. I never doubted for a moment that it's real. I just find it baffling.
These are people that need to fix their hearts, I think.
Yeah.
They truly do.
They can also die. You know, many things can happen.
It is a little trite though, going, oh yeah, I'm writing a movie about a person who's also writing movies.
Please, don't just
writers,
write
please.
things that are directly about. You do need to exercise some, adapting skills and make an actual story out of something.
Also, writers, please stop writing about writing. Just
writing is not that interesting. It's not that interesting.
It really
a series of rules and a lot of boring trying to figure things out.
Yeah, Stephen King gets away with it because he's a really good writer. That's it. You're not Stephen King.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just write like Stephen King and you can do that.
So yeah, she kind of like goes around writing her her coming out story. And it's also revealed in this scene, if you read it, that her brother's name is London, which is just child cruelty by the parents.
That's such a mean thing to do to a child.
Could you imagine having the name London?
I couldn't.
I would go by my middle name, which hopefully isn't Paris.
I would.
London, Paris.
A tale of two names. Fuck.
My full name is London, Paris, Moscow.
Yes. So from there, we cut into some guy in a warehouse looking at some weird little eyes buried in a hole in a
pipe.
Wall. Yeah, it's not a pipe. I don't. It's
a pipe.
It's
a pipe.
We'll call it a pipe. And he gets the goop squirted on him. Bad news, everybody. He's got the goop now. He's a goop man.
Yeah. He does a thing that people do in movies that I do not understand. Where as soon as the goop hits his face, he opens his mouth to scream. Why? Why would you do that?
Because he wants more goop.
It's such a movie thing to just be like, oh no, there's some disgusting fluid. I better just open my mouth a little bit so I get everything in there.
Give me the goop. Give me the goop.
Yeah.
The goop.
Although I do love a goop. I love a fluid.
I want to slurp up the goop.
Yeah, and so does the character. We cut from that to a title drop, which is a beautiful rendition of the movie's title. And it says,
we had fun doing that.
Yeah, a transgender and queer film by Alice Maio Mackay. T blockers.
I do like the title sequence. It is very 60s horror, which is fun.
Yeah. It's too bad that the movie doesn't really cash us out on the horror.
No, it does not.
It doesn't deliver this horror that is being promised in the title, but and also there's not a lot of T blocking, but that's
Yeah, I wasn't going to get into this early, but you've brought it up. Hey, why is this movie called T Blockers?
I don't know. I was trying to figure that out the entire movie.
Because it's a transgender movie and that's a transgender title. That's it.
It's just there so you know that it's trans.
I have to believe that you're right because I can't think of any other reason.
Yeah.
The only other, if I'm being extremely generous, then we'll later see a hit squad of people wearing silly masks and one dude wearing sunglasses. And maybe they could be calling themselves the T blockers because they're blocking the people filled with T who are bad.
Well, they never do that in the
There's
film.
a person that's ostensibly a cis man in that group. Yeah,
It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, but moving on in the plot, we then see the main character Sophie getting ready for a date with her friend / roommate Spencer. I'm not quite sure.
She's called both.
Okay. Who is watching the monologue from the opening of the film on her laptop. And it's apparently some kind of movie that they have been watching. They discuss this filmmaker who was a trans woman in the 90s, and they discuss that's, pretty metal.
Yeah, and said that must be really tough, which, yes.
Just some forgotten garbage short film from the 90s, and I don't know. Nobody remembers these things after they watch them. But I feel like if you're enough of a movie nerd, you've seen 1,000 of them. And
yeah. Here's the thing, though.
It does feel, it feels very movie maker because people who love movies love some weird esoteric shit.
Yeah, Elissa, tell me all about that.
I don't know anything about weird esoteric shit.
Oh, okay.
But if someone brought to my attention a trans movie from the year 1990, I would watch it. I'd probably hate it, but I'd watch it.
Oh, same. What if someone brought to your attention a trans movie from 2023? That's also not great.
I would watch it. I'd probably hate it, but I'd watch it.
All right, so she's getting ready for her date, and yeah. I love seeing some clocky women on screen.
Yeah. Wait, is Spencer clocky to you?
I meant the main character, Sophie.
Oh,
but I like the look of Spencer. She's has a pleasant jaw.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna transvestigate her.
I'm gonna transvestigate her. I'm gonna look her up right now. Are you is actor that plays trans? Wait, fuck balls. Forget it.
Yeah, is Spencer meant to be trans? It's left unclear, which is great.
Yeah,
balls indeed.
Important thing to note about this scene: the light grading is or the color grading is the trans flag for some reason.
Yeah, this is the most bisexual lighting room I've ever seen in my life.
It is aggressively. It is aggressively pink.
It's wonderful, especially because we're in 2023 and not the 80s. It wouldn't be a really, really loud room.
Yeah. So yes, Sophie is asking Spencer for advice on her outfit, and Spencer gives her the worst advice and tells her to wear a really ugly top.
Yeah, that outfit is so shit. Also, I am so sorry to the actor because that is clearly her own clothes.
Yeah, this did not have a clothing budget.
I think her other clothing is good. I just think that top that she chose is really ugly.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing, but then in the next scene with it redeems itself because it says a girl without a dick is like an angel without wings.
Yes, I just wish that phrasing was on a better top.
And it's like a tank that she's wearing over another top and under a hoodie.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with layers. Let's just layers are not your friend, girls. Just gonna say
layers are the secret. However, there are rules.
Okay, fine.
As a jacket lady, just saying.
Yeah, but you only have one jacket, right? That's the rule.
Of course, you can only have one jacket. Yeah. You have to wear it every day.
Yeah, she also wears 2 necklaces. Important.
Whom's among us?
Me? I would never do that. It's a hat on a hat.
Oh, okay.
That is chaotic.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I stand dual necklacing.
Oh, okay. Well, then we're gonna have a West Side Story style fight between the one necklacers and two necklacers. When you're a one necklacer, you're a one necklacer all the way.
Yeah.
Wow, moving on before this gets any worse.
If it's unclear, this movie has so little going on that we will be waffling, and yet I think we might not even fill out like 15 minutes of recording. There is so little going on.
Yeah.
We are 2 minutes into the movie so far. So
Yeah.
Sophie meets with this guy named Adam for a date in front of a theater that she says she works at. This is to exposit that she works there, but it's a little weird that she agreed to meet him there. If she's just going to be like, hey, also, can we not go in here? I work here, and everyone here is going to fuck with me the whole time because they're going to think it's funny.
Yeah, so you have a
That's correct. That would be funny.
You have his phone number. Why don't you just be like, hey, yeah, I would love to meet up with you. Can we do it somewhere else?
Yes, can we go anywhere else?
Yeah, the script also feels very, very awkward, but that also, it's just extremely awkward and not well written, or it's extremely well written and well acted, because first dates are just so awkward.
No, it's not well written because it's like awkward in a very forced way.
Yeah, it feels like they had a lot of things they were trying to do. There were a lot of boxes they were trying to check, and they were having a tough time fitting all of those things together.
Yeah, so she's having a good time on this date. Adam goes to the bathroom, and then she looks at his phone when it goes off.
Yeah, she hears there's a Grindr notification, and she checks his phone that is for some reason unlocked.
Wait, that's the Grindr notification sound? I'm showing my whole ass again.
Yeah, that's the Grindr notification sound. You should always have it on deck. If you're out and about, you hit a little button, and you can see all of the trans women in the audience will be activated like Manchurian candidates, and the men in the audience, if any are present, will feel will start visibly sweating.
Well, like a quarter of them will be activated.
Do I have to look up the Grindr notification sound?
Yeah, you should slip it in somewhere here somewhere, so people will go like, "Oh, gotta check my phone. Maybe it's thick o'clock." The date apparently goes poorly because the next scene is, and we're going through these scenes really, really quickly because the movie does as well.
Yeah, she surmises that he's a chaser and just fucking bails on his ass immediately. Which fair.
Correct move, by the way. Just hit the brakes.
After she checks his phone, he's in the bathroom and she checks his phone and sees a message come in, and it's from a chat called Chicks with Dicks, and so she's like, "Fuck it, I'm out of here. This guy's a chaser. Hey, fuck this."
Hey, maybe he's trans and an egg. You thought about that?
He could be. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that we don't get any like, hey, so do you want to explain this?
Yeah, it's too bad because it could be really interesting, but we're not allowed to.
I would absolutely name my group chat with you guys Chick with Dicks.
That's the other thing. It's like, yeah,
that's hurtful.
A lot of trans people would.
No, it's not. No, it's not hurtful. It's just.
I know.
I would feel so left out.
Anyway, so then in the next scene, she's commiserating with Spencer and doing poppers with her friend, which is such a choice.
Yes, it's an incredible choice. Just a couple of gals doing poppers.
There are drugs that you do with friends, and I really feel like poppers is not one of them.
Yeah, no, I'm just hanging out with my friends, and I really want loose hole.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of another amazing joke that if you listen to a trans woman talk uninterruptedly for 40 minutes, you will get whole.
Damn. True.
So
I think they also do ketamine. They do later.
They do a bunch of drugs here. They do like
cocaine. Yeah, like the drinking and smoking and poppers aren't enough, so they throw in like cocaine, pills of some variety.
I don't think it's cocaine. I think it must be ketamine. She's transgender. Surely it's ketamine.
That is true. It is just a white powder that they're snorting. That could be ketamine.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
In any case, they end up vomiting everywhere. It is a whole scene.
Yeah.
The one redeeming feature of that theme is that she takes out her flip phone, which is decorated in the trans flag colors with little gemstones, and texts the dude she went on a date with and says, "Sorry, I only date guys with smaller dicks than me," which I really enjoyed. It's such a good call out. Just go like, "No, fuck you, buddy."
But she just said that he has a big dick. It should have been, "I only date guys with bigger dicks than me."
Yeah.
I think that would have been funnier, but do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you're also calling him a small dick when you do that.
Yeah.
Which guys get really upset about.
Guys are very insecure about their penises.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Guys do be insecure about penises.
It's so sad. Anyway, so we then cut to him, and he's like pissed off.
Yeah, he's pretty steamed right now. This movie, I'll give this movie this much. It does say the word. So many trans movies do not have the nuts to say the word. But this movie not only does that, but it drops everyone's favorite slur.
Yeah, so he gets that text and just screams "fucking tranny."
Yeah.
Which okay. That's what you're not doing right now. Ayo!
Then he gets, I'm trying to remember what happens right immediately after, because I think he gets his mouth groped by some dude who just finished reading the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the guy from the beginning of the movie that got gooped.
Yeah.
Oh, right. And now he's doing the goop share.
Yeah. Ooze. He's getting ooze.
Yeah. He's dunking him in the ooze and making into a goopman.
Yeah. You want to get goop? Let's be goop buddies.
And this, I mean, yeah, but do you think he would have been gooped if he didn't get rejected by a transsexual? I don't think so.
This movie is
there could be a theme in this movie.
This movie is not clear about what the goop is or for. I don't know. Anyway,
it's so isn't. And also we don't rest on this scene. We don't rest on anything because we immediately go to the next location, which is a queer bar, which I'd love to see.
There's actually a short scene in here that you're justified for forgetting because it's a non sequitur that only establishes that Sophie and the other chick who I'm now blanking on
Spencer.
her name. Spencer. Okay, I'm always going to forget names because I am stupid. They are filmmakers and they make films together.
Yeah. Wow. A filmmaker making films about filmmakers making films.
Makes you think.
Yeah, it makes me think, but not about... No, fuck it. Moving swiftly on. Bar scene.
Yeah. So we go into the bar, and this is our character's favorite hangout. They're going to spend some time here. It's some little queer dive bar where they meet up with their friends, Storm, the bartender here, and Crystal. And apparently someone has been putting transphobic posters up around the bar. And I don't know, they're stealthy about it, so they haven't been caught.
Yeah, which is bananas, because every queer space I can mention where someone would get caught doing that, they would be found out immediately.
Yeah, this place is teeny tiny. It's amazing that they're able to do it, but the movie does comment on that. Mostly this is just to introduce the fact that there's like a transphobic rally that's going to appear later in the movie.
Yeah.
She does also meet Chris, who's a cis guy that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and he's there with his weird transphobic buddy who tries to pick a fight with everyone in the bar, and it is nothing short of a miracle that he isn't killed on the spot.
It is. He also says some slurs.
Yeah, I have a suggestion for all the cis men that are listening to this. If you're within the range of my voice, cis men, do not go into a trans bar and start calling everyone slurs, because you will be castrated.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
This is not a threat. I am
the people inside
the
bar outnumber you.
Yeah, this is not a threat. This is a PSA.
Statistically, one person in that bar is going to know how to fight too.
And even if they don't, you've still got 20 people that want you dead.
Yeah. So it's this guy trying to pick a fight with the whole bar is a weird way to introduce a love interest, but this movie fucking goes for it, and I'll give it that much. Introducing your love interest via transphobia is a hell of a way to do it.
Did J.K. Rowling write this book?
So Sophie goes home, and so I guess right before that, here to close out the scene, Sophie has like a little headache thing, and it's not clear what it is, but she's having like a vision.
Yeah.
And she goes home and talks about that a little bit, but it's not really clear what's going on. And she goes to sleep and has a dream of Crystal being devoured by queer-eating goopmen. And yeah, she's just dead now. She showed up for one scene and now she's dead.
I wish I were a goopman.
What? No, you don't.
I want to
The
be a
goopmen are stand-ins for transphobia.
Oh, wait. Okay. Well, not in this movie. I just mean in general. I wish I were a goopman. I want to be goopy.
Oh.
We also are introduced to the plot point at this point that Sophie and Spencer are like going to get evicted because they can't pay their rent.
Yeah, and it's barely part of the plot in this. It gets resolved so quickly.
It is this point in the film where I have a thought, which is, God, you know what this film could really use? 2 consecutive scenes that are to do with each other.
Yeah. This movie is bouncing around a lot and it feels very unfocused. And at this point, we're like 20 something minutes into this movie.
We're 20 minutes into a 75-minute movie.
Yeah.
And the plot has still not yet manifested?
Not at all.
Yeah, it's not even clear how any of this would relate to a plot at this point.
But do you know what we could do with?
What?
New plot thread. Sophie gets a call from a producer that has seen some of her work on the internet and wants to sponsor it. Not really clear.
So okay, yeah, she gets this voicemail, and of course, as is necessary for a movie like this, he says "ciao" at the end of the message, and we have to get a whole conversation about word choice.
What is with these movies?
I don't know.
Let people just say what they want. Like, the point of communication is to be understood. He is understood by you. What? Who cares?
Yeah. We will get more from this guy later, but right now, all we get is that he wants to set up a meeting with her. So that's that. We then get like this short sequence of Sophie just doing movie theater person things. And then we are cutting back to Lady Criswell, who is once again speaking cryptically and in annoying fashion.
They keep intercutting with these monologues, and I don't understand what they're adding to the movie.
Yeah, they're all too long, and they're just describing the action that you're seeing in an annoying way.
I think possibly someone saw another movie and said, I want to make something similar to this. And then did not hit the mark.
It feels like it's channeling, Bela Lugosi in Glen or Glenda. But
yeah, that's what it wants to do, but it does not work.
It's missing the earnestness.
It's missing Bela Lugosi.
The actually okay subtext of what's going on in Glen or Glenda. And it's also missing, Bela Lugosi, who's you could listen to that guy read the phone book.
Yeah, exactly.
So at this point in the film, London, who recall is Sophie's very unfortunately named brother, shows up to just like chat with his sister and give her like an envelope of money from their dad to pay for the rent. So that plot line is resolved now.
Yeah, the not having money for rent thing instantly resolved. We're also kind of there really isn't a subplot here with her family. We established at the beginning that they rejected her, and this is the next thing we hear about it, and it's them kind of starting to try to make amends.
Her dad is like kind of cool. Her mom is still a piece of shit, and they're like, don't talk to your mom. It's like, okay.
Yeah, wouldn't know what that's like.
Oh no.
Anyway, they have this really lengthy discussion about addiction and how hard that is, and it runs a little too long. But it's a really weird juxtaposition to what we were seeing like 10 minutes ago, which was our characters going on a fucking bender. And apparently London has struggled with addiction, and it's a big scary monster, and we get all this stuff.
Yeah, but also his sister does a lot of drugs.
There's maybe a different, more interesting movie there, I guess.
I want to step back from the movie itself for a second and say, addiction is really scary. If you are struggling with addiction, it's a very difficult time. And also, if you want to do drugs because you like them, who am I? Your mom? I do what you want. But having both of these things next to each other in a movie is very confusing, and I don't know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it feels like it should be something you build the rest of the movie around, and it's not. It's not going to be addressed again. It's not going to come up. I don't know what it's doing here. I don't know why it's in here. It doesn't belong here. It sounds like a different, more interesting path for the movie to take, and it doesn't belong in this movie. We're not going to go in that direction.
This is also the last we see of London. He never shows up again.
Yeah. He is not a character in this movie. He shows up for one scene.
Yeah, he's a plot device.
Yeah, he's a plot device to give money to Sophie, which is a plot device.
But he doesn't need to give her money. We didn't have to have the money subplot.
Yeah, it's a lot of subplots that don't really go anywhere.
The money thing will be mentioned again one time later in the movie as just like, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, it's so that she would talk to her dad, who tells her
but she could just
some information that she already has later in the movie. I don't know why this is here. I don't know what's happening.
It's here so that this movie is not a 10-15 minutes infomercial.
Listen, that would have been a better experience.
In some ways, the money subplot is like the anti-Knight Riders, where Knight Riders is about like artists trying to find that synthesis between, doing their thing and making a living. And this movie is about just like, it's just this meandering sort of, what if I could keep working at the movie theater, not making enough money to pay rent, and going on a bender every night, and wouldn't that be fun?
Well, my
it doesn't
cop
have
dad
the substance that Knight Riders has.
What if my cop dad subsidizes my drug habit?
Yes. This movie has weird ideas about the cops. Moving on, Sophie meets up with Chris while working at the theater. He's coming out of a flick.
Yeah, you kind of like imply something by when you say meeting up. She runs into him.
Yeah. Sorry, she runs into him while working, and they hit it off. The dialogue here is rough,
stilted.
Yes,
both accurate adjectives.
And we start to get into, it's not clear, but it's not clear on the first watch, but this is where we start to introduce the goop is fascism. When Chris explains that the friend that tried to pick the fight previously had been going down the YouTube fascist pipeline, and they name drop some, YouTube fascists.
Hey, whomst amongst us? Well, me, for starters, but
what?
Not me.
Whomst among us have never gone down the YouTube fascist pipeline? Well, I haven't, but
I also haven't.
If you did, and you are listening to this podcast, I assume you're not a fascist. Congratulations. You managed to come out normal in the end.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not normal. You are listening to this podcast, but.
This is the YouTube trans pipeline. I'm sorry to say. You will be taking estrogen within 6 months. Prepare for that.
But also, good news, you won't be a fascist.
Please comment if we have cracked your egg. I need to crack an egg.
We can make some breakfast.
You've never cracked. Oh
no, I haven't. It's a goal. Anyway.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to give you the recipe for cracking an egg. It's super simple. You go on Grindr, you make a Grindr profile, and you put in your profile text, only cis men only ever contact me if you want to be forcibly feminized. And then when they inevitably contact you about it, you go, okay, so here's the deal. It's okay to want to be a girl, and you can just take the estradiol. It's fine. It's going to be okay. And hey, presto, egg cracked.
Amazing. So, they end up agreeing that they're going to meet up at the bar sometime, and That's our scene. We're
The
just,
bar.
We're this is our meet cute and fascist fascist subtext introduction.
Then we cut to Spencer and Sophie having a picnic. In
their backyard.
In their backyard, which sure. Spencer pushes Sophie to call the producer guy back. End of scene.
Yeah, not a lot getting accomplished in this scene. Another one of these scenes where it's just like, here's an unrelated scene where we're gonna do one thing, and it's over in 3 minutes. And it feels like it goes
for what it's
longer than it
worth,
needs to.
at least it's over quickly.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know. I feel like a lot of things drag in this movie, and this is a solid 20-minute short that got dragged out to baby feature length. But they do have, Spencer wants Sophie to go meet with that producer because producers have money, and wouldn't money be nice? And there is a conflict brewing here about like the money versus art thing. It is just watch Knight Riders. Just watch Knight Riders.
Is so though? I don't think that's really addressed.
I really don't. Alyssa, I think you're giving the movie more credit than it deserves when you say that.
I'm trying really hard to find positives here.
They never crystallize the themes to that level. It's more just Sophie doesn't want to meet up with him because he's gross. That's it. That's all they ever get to.
Yeah. And Spencer's argument is, producers have access to money, and I don't know. That is a real filmmaking concern, right? Producers are gross. Most of them are trying to scam you. The film industry is 99% scams. Even most like big studio movies are scams in some way.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're getting into.
I wish that was in the movie. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. They're scamming the US military out of their sweet money.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that, but that's not on show. Instead, we get a weird sentence about armor made of bubble gum, which is a weird metaphor.
I don't. So it's sticky?
No, it's like it's armor that is difficult to take off.
Okay.
Moving on.
That's the point. Yeah. Before we move on, there is also a direct Ed Wood reference, which hell yes, love to see it.
They clearly adore Ed Wood, which is fair because Ed Wood is Ed Good.
Rules.
Ed Wood is a trans icon.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be. So we cut back into the bar again, and once again, we're having an unrelated conversation. And this scene is basically Storm saying that, hey, Crystal has gone missing. And the assumption here is that, she was depressed and ended up killing herself.
Yeah. But also we kind of discussed that incels are on the rise in town. And then Chris is getting beaten up in the alley. And they go help him.
Yeah, they get interrupted by Chris just getting his shit handed to him by a bunch of dudes outside. And they go out there and murder a Goopman.
Okay, but I want to point this out. Storm, a woman who genuinely looks like maybe 50 kilograms, probably more like 40, hand-to-hand fights like 4 dudes who are like large guys. She like kicks their asses with her bare hands.
She wrecks their shit.
This tiny 100-pound woman just fucking annihilates multiple dudes and ends up killing one of them, who is immediately cannibalized by his friends.
Yes, she does. She kills him by making him quickly look to his left.
Yes.
It was a little weird to me that his friends all stood back and watched him getting killed so that they could eat.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a scene missing somewhere.
It also feels like metaphors are happening, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
they say
cannibalizing itself, as it tends to do.
Ooh. Yeah, see, again, you're doing the thing again where you're being extremely generous to a film that really maybe should.
I'm trying very hard.
And bless you for it.
They save Chris and run away and go back to the bar.
Yeah, and they get in there, and at this point, the characters make the connection that the things they're seeing are just like
that old movie.
Wow.
Well, actually, there is one thing that I want to say I do really like about this movie is there is a single shot of Adam, who is here, eating the goop from his dead friend, and they make him look really sinister. They do a good job of that.
It's a decent shot.
Yeah.
Every now and then there's like an okay shot in this movie, and that's wonderful.
But then it's over, and we go back to things that make no sense, which is they all then go home after seeing a guy turn into goop and get eaten by his friends after dying. They just like all fuck off back to their homes and don't like freak out.
Yeah, we just cut and like now Spencer and Sophie are at home again and they're watching the movie so they can, take notes and figure out what's going on. And everyone else just went home. Chris was fine in the last scene when they were in the bar after getting savagely beaten in the street. I guess it just wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know. But the movie that they watch,
Australia's different.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this movie that they watch is like made by the trans actress from like the beginning of the film that is narrating. And it basically explains the plot of the film, which is some like weird goop men from underground got out when there was an earthquake and gooped up some people. And it goes after people that are like susceptible to influence, which is fascists, I guess. And goops them up, and then they goop up others, and we goopify the world. But you got to stop the goop by killing it at its knees, so that the goop falls out, and there's no more goop.
And the movie refers to this as worms. They're literally brain worms in the text of the film. But it's goop. It's the goop.
Yeah, they're the goop.
I think we do see a worm later on, but yeah, it could have been more worm-like and less goop.
Yeah, we see the worms at least once, yeah.
Yeah, and like they do some like interesting things thematically. Like they refer to the guy in the film. Sorry, like the film refers to the goopman in the film as like the worm has like destroyed everything inside of him that was him and has replaced it with itself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a pretty good explanation of becoming fascified.
Yeah.
I like that.
It is.
So there we go. There's a thing I like in this movie.
Yeah. There are little things to enjoy about this. Hello, friends. I'm once again stopping for just a moment to remind you to please thumb our pod or whatever. Alternatively, a really good thing to do is tell your little weirdo goblin friends that the pod is the funniest thing you've ever listened to and that they should check it out and, give it a good thumbing. Remember, it doesn't have to be true to be something you say to your friends. You can always just lie, and you absolutely should lie to your friends. Tell them about all the great ways thumbing the pod has enriched your life. There are no rules. You can just say anything you want. Words have no inherent meaning. They can just mean whatever wild and crazy things people decide they mean. You can just say whatever. Or you can thumb the pod. Thank you. So we get another scene of Trant Criswell monologuing. We're gonna just keep doing these throughout the movie, I guess. It's like intercut with a montage of the whole group just kind of going around murdering dudes in broad daylight off of Sophie's psychic vibes.
Yeah, which is a thing that you can do, clearly.
They're just murderers now.
Yeah, so they just walk around killing fascists, which is, that's cool. It's a good
cool
movie.
And good.
But they don't do anything in the film to establish that these guys are fascists, and we're just kind of taking Sophie's word for it that they're fascists.
It's just like
a bad look.
Minding their own business and then getting beaten or like sorted, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
They have bad vibes.
The film could have done a better job of establishing that these guys are monsters.
Yeah, they could have been
all
like,
I'm saying.
you know, there's plenty of fascists do a lot of very distinct fascist things. You could just show those things.
Really important. I have to talk about this though. Chris is part of their group, and he is walking around in a leather jacket with a mirrored visor, wielding a katana.
Yes.
Yeah, he put on the blade outfit.
It's the most milady shit in the goddamn
It really is. It's like, this fucking Redditor is going to show up and cut you in half because you disrespected his gal.
Yeah.
He studied the blade.
Well, you were studying the worm. I studied the blade.
This movie reveals, I think, here why it has so many problems. It's that this is a power fantasy movie, and those are always bad.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen one recently with Bob Odenkirk that was very okay.
Oh, nobody?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Elissa hates that movie.
I fucking despise that movie.
Amazing. We'll talk about that at some point, I'm pretty certain. It was kind of funny to me that these scenes are very tightly packed in. So they do the dress-up scene where they do violence to Nazis, but like we have from the main character Sophie putting on her balaclava to taking it off. I think it's less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so clumsily put together. But we get violence, and then they all start like making out with each other in the bar to show that they're like, I don't know, work hard, play hard. I don't know.
I guess. So they kill a bunch of dudes, and there's a part in here where the cops put out a statement saying that the increase in hate crimes is overrated, and they're asking, would the masked people please stop killing? And all I could think was, Australia is really just an entirely different planet, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
And the cops are putting out a statement just like, please stop killing. The stuff that you're responding to, how do they know what is being responded to? I don't know. But like, just please stop. It's really what you're worried about. Your concerns are overblown. You just need to chill out and stop killing so much.
Yeah.
Well, you could also ask, why do we never see the cops and the goop men in the same scene?
Countries without guns need to get their fucking shit together. Okay,
Well,
anyway.
we do see a cop in the next scene because Sophie's walking down the street and she gets stopped by a cop, who is her dad.
Yes.
But he looks like he looks like a homeless man who has stolen a cop uniform.
Yes.
He does.
He's got like the most unkempt hair on the planet and the most unkempt beard. But more than all of that,
you would not be allowed to look like this if you were a cop.
Yeah. Yeah. But
They have like regulations about how you can appear.
But more than any of that, my issue with the appearance of this man is that he's not wearing an undershirt, so his chest hair is just like coming out from the V-neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wear an
He
undershirt.
looks like a guy who stole a cop uniform. And he's also definitely not sitting in a cop car when we see him in his car. So
Yeah, no.
Well, yeah.
He's just sitting in a sedan.
Well, yeah, I mean, the steering wheel's on the wrong side. It's super weird.
thank you for that.
Yeah, one other thing about this scene is it's very, very close to the actors.
That's this whole movie. It's all
every
just
scene.
everything is
but
shot
I
in a
think
choker.
this one is extra close for some reason.
Yeah. There's a really weird part to this where he's showing up and kind of trying to make sure he continues to have a relationship with his daughter.
By telling her, please, can you please stop killing Nazis? That would be amazing.
Okay.
Well, he tells her that the cops don't know why people keep disappearing, but also that the cops can't do anything because they have their hands tied behind their backs. And like, which is it? And saying that the cops have their hands tied and can't do anything about fascists is maybe giving the cops a bit more credit than they fucking deserve. Because the reason cops don't do anything about fascists isn't that they can't, it's because they are fascists. The people who go to become cops, who want that position, generally speaking, in 99% of situations, are fascists.
Okay,
I
so
think it might be more than 99%.
This is now the point in the podcast where I am going to step back and criticize the politics of this film.
Ooh.
Woo! So it's not that it's anti-fascist. Like, that's good. That's cool and good. That's very good. It's that I am picking up the subtext that the reason that these people are anti-fascist is not for any political reasons, but simply because the fascists hate the transes, so they have to hate the fascists back. That is what I get from the movie. And this is why all transes need to read State and Revolution.
Yeah, it feels like there isn't like any
there's no theory
serious,
here.
There's no theory, there's no underpinning of understanding or wanting to understand what is going on. Like fascists don't just exist because they are hit with the fascist ray and oh no, becoming a fascist is something that's done to you. Fascists
don't just exist because they hate trans people or queer people. They come to hate trans and queer people because they are convinced to hate the other by the material realities under which they live. They are hit by the decline of capitalism, which is like fascism is capitalism in decline. So they are hit by the forces of this, and they have a choice at that point to either confront the contradictions of capitalism that lead to this decline or to blame an outside group. And fascism is when you choose to blame the outside group.
Yeah, it's a very specific set of like social and economic conditions that leads to these people becoming fascism.
It's not I'm unhappy and so I watch Ben Shapiro and start to hate transes. It's a bit more involved than that. And this movie...
this feels very surface level, baby's first foray into this shit. And also, the only reason I care about this is that I have personal stakes. And if I didn't, I would not give two fucking shits about these people. That's what it feels like they're saying.
It does not bother me that they don't dig into that, because that's a lot to ask somebody to dig into in a film. It's that they seem to be presenting an alternative as the truth. And that bothers me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my criticism of the politics of 2023's T-blockers with a budget of 4 shoestrings.
Yes. So we move on to this short scene where Sophie and Spencer are talking to each other about how now that they're serial murderers, the rest of life just seems empty. And it's like, yeah, you're a serial murderer. Like, that's depression. You're sad because you're killing dudes for thought crimes, and that's just murder. Re-education is possible. This was proven after World War II. Puyi is proof that you can re-educate someone and successfully turn a fascist into a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no time for that. Sophie's got to meet the producer guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this scene.
And in this scene, the producer shows up and he's like a real piece of shit in so many different ways, which I respect. I also think that this man is probably the only halfway decent actor in the film.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He is playing that character.
Just one question about this scene.
Oh, what's that, Liv?
Where does this lead us? Where does this go?
Nowhere.
Absolutely nowhere.
Okay.
This entire plot thread does not need to exist and should not exist.
Yeah.
Right.
So with that in mind, the producer shows up and he's a piece of shit in a lot of different ways, which I respect. He's like snapping for the waiter. He's misquoting things. Like he's just a dickhead. And I love that.
Very high energy, annoying guy.
But what I find really annoying about it is that Sophie starts the interaction hating him when it's like, no, that she should have started the meeting like excited to get money, and then 5 minutes in been like, oh no.
what will I have to do for this money? And
yeah, I get that they're doing this thing where like she didn't really want to be doing this, but like you're gonna have to play that. You're gonna have to like not have her come in immediately hostile to him and just have him be oblivious for some reason. Like there needs to be a progression to this, and there isn't. Instead, yeah, it's just her being kind of a butthole, and it almost comes off as him trying to make the best of it and trying to force the conversation to be positive, even though like he's intentionally not coming off as genuine. He's supposed to be sleazy and slimy, and it's not coming across because of the way she is behaving. It also this thing he's pitching to her. It's just a film festival. He's just pitching the idea of a film festival. He's like, oh yeah, we're gonna get a bunch of films together. This is my crazy idea I came up with. We're gonna make this event where we're going to get a bunch of short films together from different filmmakers, different queer filmmakers, and we're going to play them for people. And at the end, we're going to ask for donations. And we don't hear the whole thing because the movie didn't have the idea fleshed out very much. And she starts having one of her visions. I guess she pegs him as a goopman.
Yeah, and also it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, he says he's going to send her the application details. And that's just a film festival. It's just a film festival with an extra, like film festivals are inherently kind of a scam, and just that's something you have to deal with. And there's just like a second smaller scam that's been tacked onto this one. That's all his idea is. It's not that exciting.
It really truly isn't. And anyway, so like we move on from this scene that goes nowhere onto
Sophie like sees Head Goopman, who's the guy from the beginning of the movie, and is like, "Oh shit! There's a bunch of Goopmans in that Goop warehouse. Let's go get the girls and de-goop them."
That must be the Goop house.
I would love to go to the Goop house. Isn't that like Gwyneth Paltrow's thing? Goop.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Sure.
Turns out she's a fascist. Who knew?
Oh no, I don't think you can say that. So they like show up. They rock up to Goop House and are like, "Wow, how do we get into Goop House?" And Spencer's like, "Well, we can't just like pretend to be Christian missionaries. Like rock up, knock on the door and be like, 'Have you heard of Jesus?'" And then they're like, "Well, we can do that." And then they do that. And then they get inside for some reason. We're not shown the scene where they go from the front door to inside the building. And I don't understand how they got in.
Yeah, a guy opens the door and they say this, and you can tell that what happened was they had a joke in mind and they inserted that, even though it didn't make any sense, because they just end up killing the guy anyway. And there was a scene just before this where they it was really quick where they are making a plan to burn the warehouse down, and there's this really baffling part of it where they're trying to figure out what kind of fuel you burn a place with, which is I cannot believe that this is a question humans would ask. What kind of fuel do you use to start a fire?
Any
adults? What the fuck? And the conclusion they come to, Storm points out that her dad has a server. I feel like I'm having a stroke or something.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. It's
so
confusing.
Confused. Also, Chris does volunteer that he burnt down a building when he was 15 on accident.
Kind of badass, really.
You
sure,
but also don't really lead us anywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
so
their scheme is to burn this place down, which gets a little confused because they don't just like come in the door and immediately light the place on fire and leave. They go in there and their plan is to fight every single dude.
Yes.
Yeah, which they do.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of like 12 dudes who are all patiently waiting to get hit in the head with a pipe.
Yeah, that's what I do when a bunch of beautiful trans women come at me. Is I'm like,
yes,
down on my knees and open my mouth, waiting for it. Excuse me. I think I just blacked out. I think I just blacked out. What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
I think I just implied some things about myself.
Yeah. And I mean, whomst among us
Anyway.
So anyway, they beat up the guys and stomp on the worm.
Yeah.
No, wait, that's later. Or is that later?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they beat up all the dudes and they start lighting the place on fire. And Sophie sees the fire go up and like has a freak out for some reason. And Chris goes over to help her, and it immediately gets chomped by Adam from the beginning of the movie, who is now the head goopman. And
yeah, but the way that the way that this shot is like composed, Adam has to have like teleported onto just off screen.
Yes. Yeah, he like teleports past two people to do this.
And then very slowly, sensually, one might say, like leans forward and bites Chris in the jugular.
Yeah.
And then teleports away again.
Yeah, he just escapes easily. Nobody even tries to stop him. But Sophie has a vision, and they decide that Chris has the goop now, so they just fucking leave his ass in the building to burn to death.
Yeah.
And I feel like our little metaphor here with the goop being fascism is muddy.
He who fights fascism becomes fascist, I guess.
Yeah, you know that thing that happens. Yeah. So they go home, and Sophie really can't act, but she has this little freak out about how the goop is just going to keep coming back, and the goop is why the trans lady in the 90s that made the movie killed herself. And if it wasn't obvious before now, the goop is like a cross between fascism and transphobia. If you didn't catch it previously, the goop is a cross between fascism and transphobia. It's a little bit of both. And there's a point that is being made in here that is, again, very muddy about like all trans women kind of have the goop.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going for with that one.
Yeah, I don't know, because they're saying the lady from the 90s had it, and here in a little bit it's going to come back. The thing that there's, I think what they're saying is there's always a little internalized transphobia, but they're just mashing fascism and transphobia together, because I truly don't think that this movie has a clear enough idea of what it is against to have coherent politics. It's just upset that being trans sucks, which is a cool thing to be upset about. I am also upset that being trans sucks in a lot of ways. However, that's for like distinct reasons. And you should probably interrogate those reasons if you're making a 75-minute movie.
I feel like I'm diving in and out of consciousness here. Like, this movie just doesn't have much to say, and what it does have to say is very clumsy, and I don't think it says it very well.
Sophie is having her moment and giving her speech here, and she remembers the flyer about the transphobic rally. So they decide they're going to go there, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, there'll probably be tons of dudes there that we can kill. And
right, yes.
So they go there, and further muddying the themes, they're like, okay, are there any here? And Sophie's just like, oh no, these are just perfectly normal dudes. And she stands there for a little bit. In our metaphor, you can feel these themes just falling to pieces in real time. It's collapsing. And she detects Adam gooping some dude, and they go to fuck his shit up. And they just kind of leave the dude that just got gooped so they can chase Adam. And they track him down, and he says, all this time you were one of us. And I get that they're doing like trannies have brain worms, dysphoria sucks, but it's a mess. It is a mess. It is a fucking disaster. And they kill him, and they shoot their own short about the goop. And judging by the setup they've got, it isn't going to be any better than the last movie about the goop. And they don't have anyone doing sound. They're shooting handheld on. I think it's actually the same camera I have, but it isn't like fully rigged. I don't know. They could be they got the problem a lot of indie filmmakers have where they have too many crew members that aren't doing anything. Yeah, and then there's like an extended music sequence, and the song is really bad.
Which song is this you're talking about now?
This is "Dead Men Don't Rape" is the song.
Ah, right. Yes, the credits song. Oh, sorry. Again, I just talking about this movie is like it's a little bit. It's not great.
I'm so sleepy. I'm so sleepy now.
I'm sorry. So our final thing that happens, they're partying.
They put the guy in a box.
They take the producer guy and they just like put him in a tote.
They call him a scammer and then put him in a box and are just like, ciao.
It's not a very intimidating box.
It's not. It's weird. And then there's the lovely theme of this movie, "Dead Men Don't Rape," which is a weird choice because I don't remember seeing any sexual assault in this movie.
Yeah.
That could have been an interesting movie, killing rapists, but that's not this movie.
No.
We have reached, mercifully, the end of T blockers. We're now going on to monotherapy.
Thank you. That was T blockers.
Kind of a mess. It's kind of a disaster.
Oh,
Huge.
buddy, it's such a mess.
Huge mess.
It really feels like they're doing this thing a lot in this of being like, you see this a lot. Of being like, hey, we know bad movies exist too, while making a bad movie, as though that validates making a bad movie. And it doesn't. You've just made a bad movie with an added element of also being annoying.
Please don't make bad movies.
Just don't make bad movies.
That's my suggestion.
And if you are gonna make bad movies, at least make them bad in the Ed Wood way, where they're also amazing movies at the same time.
Also, don't have like 4 plot lines that don't really have anything to do with each other, because that makes your movie that could have been a 15-minute short and tolerable 75 minutes and just obnoxious.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing is, if you're going to make a bad movie, be earnest about it and put some heart into it. Don't try to do this like meta bullshit. It never works. Like, be earnest and tell people how you feel and engage with the material, and it'll work. Like, you can just do that. You don't have to be afraid of being earnest in your film. It will be stronger for that. You don't have to do this like, check it out, it's trans Criswell. It's just like an Ed Wood movie, except
no,
it's worse than an Ed Wood movie.
Alyssa, artists can't be earnest because artists are all miserable.
Shit.
But I have a theory about this. I have a theory about why artists are miserable. I think that making art makes you miserable, which is why all art should be illegal.
Yes.
Yes.
This whole movie could have been resolved in the first act if she would have just gotten a real job in an office and stopped being miserable.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
She could be working for a bank or something.
She should have gone to work for Lockheed Martin.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Then she would have been happy.
So, to summarize our votes, Liv, where are you on this one?
Oh, this one needs to go right back to the drawing board. I mean, I can't even see a way where you cut it down to be a short and then it works, because I don't see a path to working from here.
As for me, so I have an interesting feeling. I have interesting feelings about trans art in general. I love trans art. I love that trans art exists. I think we should have more trans art, even if it's bad. And this is bad. This is not good. But it should not be banned because these voices need to be heard. But like, don't watch it. Do yourself a favor and don't watch this movie.
I think
these voices really need to be heard, but like, I just wish there were better voices.
Yeah.
Go watch The People's Joker instead.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I think the core function of this board is to ask the question, is this good for the public?
No.
Is this
No,
something
it's
that the
not.
public would be harmed by if it were allowed to break containment?
I think
And
actually,
I think this will-
yes.
I think, unfortunately, this would damage the psyches of many people, trans and otherwise. It is not reinforcing good communist values. I think, unfortunately, I have to vote to ban this.
I would say this goes in that place of dubious trans art that we have to display and promote, but also have to warn people against reading or watching.
So that we given a participation trophy for having made something, and then the movie will be banned.
With a heavy
the action
heart.
of this board.
With a very heavy heart, I must vote to ban this film.
But then I would also say that the state should provide a writing coach to the writer, so we get more trans art, because we desperately need more trans art.
Absolutely.
We just also desperately need it to be a little better.
We ban this film and then provide
please.
a bunch of support to the filmmakers that made this.
You referenced Save the Cat in this movie. Please actually read Save the Cat. You will make a better movie.
Oh God! And with that, there's nothing left but for me to thank you for having listened to Arch It Be Illegal, a podcast made by 3 trans people and of like dubious quality.
Thank you for listening to our bullshit.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening. And whose choice is the next one?
Pick. This is my choice. Ooh. And we are going. So next week, we are going to be listening to a radio drama from 1968 called A Black Mass by Amory Baraka and Sun Ra.
I am looking forward to this way more than you would expect.
Yeah. This should be very interesting.
I have not listened to it yet. I just know what it's about, and I am excited.
Amazing.
You hear Sun Ra, and you know that there will be some kind of incomprehensible jazz bullshit, and I'm on board for that.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.